Hello again, everyone. Chris Matthew with Forbidden Knowledge News. Today, I'm happy to welcome Erin Montgomery. She works as a marriage and family counselor by day and does healings, readings, and shamanic energy work after hours. Following in the footsteps of Yvonne Smith and others, Erin is actively working towards being able to help other alien contactees come to terms and perhaps learn from their unique experiences. Erin, welcome. How you doing today?
I am good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to your presentation. See, I always really enjoy presentations from contactees and people who have actually had these experiences because I think that that's some of the most important evidence that we have today is the contactee testimony. Science has only taken us so far, and some of these researchers into consciousness, they can only take us so far. I think we need to bring all these things together, the contactee testimony, the science, the nuts and bolts research, and the consciousness research, and kind of bring that together. I think we could get a lot further in what we're looking at. But your presentation, "Dirty Little Secret: Confessions of an Alien Contactee." I'm sure it's going to be an amazing presentation. Now, for you, did your experiences start at a young age?
Yeah, I've been a contactee for a very long time. My earliest memories are around 4 years old. However, these things are not linear. I didn't realize I had contact at 4 until, 6 months ago, and I had a flash and understood it. And so it's a really interesting journey, I guess, through life, understanding that things have happened to me in the past that I'm just now remembering. And some of them come naturally, some of them I don't have any problems remembering the new experiences that I have, but those early memories are either brought through regressions or flashes of things that I am recalling later in life. It's really complicated, and as you talk about these different modes in which we are learning about this phenomenon through science, through consciousness, and through these contact things that are happening to people. I mean, it really has to bridge together, and a lot of this has to do, with that conscious level. How come these memories are coming to light right now, and how come so many of us contactees are coming kind of online and understanding right now in this moment? There are so many people that are coming out and telling their stories and starting to write books, and it's like a flood over the last couple of years, and it's pretty phenomenal.
Now, you mentioned earlier that it has been kind of like a journey of trauma, understanding your trauma and then accepting it. Were most of your experiences traumatic in the beginning and you just had to kind of work through them? Is that the way it worked?
Pretty much. The way I've come to understand it is there's like three different categories of experiences I have. There are some that are loving and kind, and I'm learning a lot of things, whether it's metaphysical information or even quantum physics types of things. Not that I understand quantum physics, but just the way, there is no time, things are in a location, a space-time location, and it's out, all of this crazy stuff that a therapist doesn't necessarily need to have in her head. But it's all right there. So that's one category. Then I have experiences that were really scary, but were not necessarily bad. At 7 years old, I did have an implant that was put into the roof of my mouth, and I was terrified in that moment, and it actually caused trauma, and I really had a hard time with dentists right now, and it's due to the chair that I was placed in looked like a dentist chair, and so those things, as a therapist, I understand PTSD and how it works, and I can see the correlations between what happened to me as a child and the things that I struggle with now. And then the third category is those horrible, terrible, awful experiences that I've had, that that do seem to have some sort of maliciousness behind it. And yeah, so there's, I can kind of parcel it out. Okay, was this just scary and I'm just coping with it, or was it just really bad?
Do you think that you had possibly two different groups that you had experiences with, some with malevolent intentions?
I absolutely believe that the really scary bad experiences I have often have a military element to them, and it's so it not that I understand any of it really well, but it does lead to many questions. Biggest
Now,
one being why.
yeah, definitely. When did you have any regressions to kind of bring these memories to the forefront?
I've had two regressions at this point, working both of the times with Yvonne Smith, who I've gotten to know over the years. And the first regression that we did, I wanted to go to the trauma. I wanted to heal the trauma, and so it took me back to 7 years old at the time that I had the implant put into the roof of my mouth, and with the dentist chair and everything, and before that, I was not sleeping. I was missing work. I was just a big mess. And after the regression, having put some of those fears to bed and was able to cope and move on, I no longer struggled to sleep. And I still don't struggle to sleep. And that was 7 years ago, 80 years ago that I had that first regression. The second regression I had took me back to about the age of 10 or 11. And right at the time of puberty. So encounters started to change for me at that time. So, um, yeah, those are the only two regressions I've done, but absolutely fascinating information that comes out. And it really helps to understand the phenomenon even further when you go back in time in your mind to that point and pull out as many details as possible.
Now, a lot of contactees that I've spoken with also have paranormal experiences or other things that they can't explain happening in their lives. Have you had kind of parallel strange experiences as well?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think the paranormal is just a part of my life, and I think being a contactee makes you really sensitive to what's happening around you, and so I can tell when there's a shift in energy. I know when a spirit or a being enters the room, and I can communicate with them in different ways and forms. And that is something that I have grown to learn to understand and work with, and even help these beings often. And sometimes it is the ETs that help me understand what's going on. So yeah, I mean, paranormal happens to me all the time. It's just a way of life, I guess.
Now, the more I look at this and the more testimony I hear from contactees, abductees, and different theories along the way, I think more and more that it's possible we could be an experiment for these beings, or something along those lines that we always have been. When you look at the hybrid experiments that people claim to be part of, um, all these different contacts. The strange events that occur, the missing time, the way that these beings seem to be able to just change the fabric of our reality at will. It makes me think that, we could very well be an experiment. What do you think about that?
Well, I think we could be an experiment, but I think that it's a loving type of experiment. There's a purpose. Not that I understand what that purpose is, but there's definitely an agenda here. As a contactee, I actually have several generations of contact in my family, and so it's like, okay, so why are you manipulating the DNA? What is important about this DNA, and what are you weaving into it to continue generation after generation after generation? My children are involved, and it just makes you wonder. And then, to throw in the hybrid program, which is something that I intimately understand, and that pushes it even further. What is it about this human DNA, or these particular family lines that are so integral to whatever it is that they're doing? Because there's a reason. We just
Right.
don't know what.
Yeah, that reason, man. I'd love to know that. But to close out today, I've been asking all the presenters of this, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it. There's been so much that has been come out in the mainstream with UFO disclosure from the Pentagon. We're waiting for information to come out in June. First of all, I really don't trust any of the information coming out. I'm paying close attention to it because I find it fascinating that it's coming out right now and the sources it's coming from. But what are your thoughts on it? Why do you think now and from our own government?
That's a good question. and I think is very loaded. And I think that there is a reason to be wary of what comes out of the government, because what is that agenda? Because everybody does have an agenda. And of course, some of my experiences being, possibly with the government, military is involved, and I have a hard time trusting that. However, what I do know is they're not the only ones coming forward. As I said earlier, there's this huge influx of people that are understanding that they're contactees, that are reaching out for help, and they're becoming vocal, and they are writing, and they are talking, myself included. And it just seems that disclosure is happening all around us on many, many different levels.
Yeah, it definitely is. We live in super fascinating times. Now, for people
Absolutely.
that are interested in finding about more about you and your book, is there a website or anything that people can go to, or social media,
Sure.
anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have a website, erinmontgomery.net. You can also find me on Facebook under Erin Montgomery, and Dirty Little Secret also has a Facebook page. And I do a lot of my shamanic work through Erin Montgomery Multidimensional Messenger, which is also on Facebook. My books are available on Amazon.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by today. I'm looking so forward to seeing your presentation. You're actually going to be on Forbidden Knowledge News Monday, and
Right.
and of course, I look forward to seeing all of you in Laughlin. So that's going to be an amazing time. This year's Laughlin UFO Mega Conference is going to feature over 36 scientists, researchers, and contactees. They're going to be presenting incredible disclosures over 7 days. You can now register for the full week, for half a week, or even by the day or session. And not only is there going to be over 36 amazing presentations, you're going to get a skywatch, meet and greets, and exclusive film screenings. And there's always going to be only one presentation at a time, so you don't have to miss anything. And did I mention that there's no longer any mask mandates in Nevada? So you can now enjoy this amazing 7-day conference mask-free. Just go to their website, LaughlinUFOMegaConference.com, and register now. Last year's conference was absolutely amazing. This year's is going to be even better. So join us for an incredible 7 days of education and disclosure at the Laughlin UFO Mega Conference.